Hello. This is
Hello.
definitely a perfect. Oh, hello. We have a cat in the room as well. Yep, you can come here. Or you can just tease us.
Come on, be in the video with us.
This is
There she is.
my friend Elena, and that's a cattail.
Mhm.
Um, and I thought that maybe for my YouTube thing, while we're still planning out the episodes, because those take like cultivation and stuff like that, I might do some kind of more relaxed interviews. And Elena is currently living in Italy, born in Italy, studied not in Italy.
Well, a bit there and a bit in the UK.
Yeah. And you have some interesting stories to tell us about Italy's current, wonderful political landscape.
Yeah, okay, so we have government that's made up of extreme right-wing party called Lega, and a party that says that there is no such thing as ideology anymore, left or right, and we're anti-establishment, anti-politics, the five-star movement. There's also been a rise in fascist parties being sort of visible and present, and they've become present on the streets again, unfortunately. In the city where I live, Genova, in the northwest of Italy, we've had a pretty bad thing happen on the 23rd of June. Not May, sorry, not June. That's in the future.
In the future, we had a pretty bad thing happening. I mean, that's probably accurate.
It might happen again. I don't know. A small group of fascists from a party called Casa Pound, which is named after the poet Ezra Pound, who was also a fascist.
No fun.
They have authorized. They were authorized to have a rally, a square in the city.
Of course
they were given a square, and they were expecting about 40, 50 people. And in actual fact, about 20 to 30 turned up. They had lots of flags, though. And the police protected them, as they always do.
Yeah, they never protect the protesters who are protesting against fascism.
That's right. And that's exactly what happened. There were about 20 fascists in a tiny square that had been blocked and surrounded by several layers of cops in riot gear. Vans had been locked down since the morning. And about 2,000 anti-fascist protesters turned up, a mix of various kinds of people.
I mean, because
Antifa and people from organized squats in the city, trade unions.
Squats are different in Italy than in English-speaking countries.
We're not talking about mostly residential squats. We're talking about these places called centri sociali, which are places that have been occupied and they are used to organize events like theater, film, book launches, talks, and and to organize meetings and to just have a drink and eat something cheap and have fun. They're basically like social centers. That's what the word means. And so people from those places, which are often referred to by the Italian press as the antagonists, and lots of common people, like the ones in the pulp song.
I was just thinking that. I live like common people.
Right. Do you want to have police throw tear gas at you? Which is what happened. So basically, that's how the afternoon panned out. I wasn't even going to be able to go there initially, but then my work was cancelled because the place where I work near where the protest was happening was shut down for security reasons. And then I thought, okay, this is going to be fun. So I went to the protest instead. I was really happy, and I thought, great. And there are lots of people in a big square. That's basically a big roundabout where all the traffic that goes through the city from east to west goes through. So the place was basically blocked, gridlocked. And a lot of people complain about that.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So they started, chanting stuff, and they meaning the anti-fascists, us actually. We started chanting stuff. No, I mean, well, I consider myself an anti-fascist, but I'm not part of
the thing, like the movement.
Group.
Yeah, I gotcha.
I spent some time in Centro Sociali, the places that I was talking about before.
So you're an antagonist.
I'm an antagonist, I guess. Yeah, and also a common person in my spare time. And yeah. And I wasn't quite prepared for this. So, as soon as things heated up a little bit, which, fair enough. People are angry that there are fascists being allowed to have a rally in the city, rightly so. And there are all sorts of people, like also, people with kids, people with dogs, old people with walking sticks.
Ducks?
No, not ducks. Oh. No, we didn't have any ducks.
Ducks at the fascists.
Some people were throwing satsumas at them, which is not the worst thing you can throw at them. They're not as bad as stones. But there was some, things got heated up, and the police started throwing tear gas at us. Multiple times. They managed to push people back and empty the square.
You forgot the icing on the cake about the tear gas.
What do you mean?
The thing that you saw when you saw an empty canister.
Oh, yeah. So this is not something I saw personally, but a comrade reported that after picking up an empty canister, there was a price on it, which is $32, about 26 euros. So given the amount that they threw at us that day, it's kind of hard to imagine how much money was spent on it.
And that it was from
not to
U.S.
mention
military.
The police operation, and it was obviously of U.S. fabrication anyway. So yeah, that's another interesting thing. But yeah, so I think it was about 7 rounds of tear gas. Jesus. Then they started charging, and in the mix, they beat up a journalist.
That's what everybody got mad about.
Yeah. So a journalist from the newspaper Repubblica, which is the Italian equivalent of probably the Guardian or the Independent, and was beaten up. He wasn't wearing a press vest, so he wasn't identifiable by the cops, but he was beaten up because they mistook him for someone who they wanted to arrest, which is something they do. They pick someone that they want to arrest, they go after them, and they beat the shit out of them. And they got him 8 against 1. They knocked him down to the ground, kicked him, hit him with the batons, etc. for a long time. At least what felt to him like forever. And he said he thought he was going to die. And there was a big outcry. And eventually somebody who knew who he was, because he kept screaming, "I'm a journalist, stop." As if it shouldn't, no, but also as if it wasn't worth stopping or just not starting at all if he wasn't a journalist, which is something they didn't talk about. It was very disappointing to see that that newspaper just talked about how one of their journalists was beaten up because he was mistaken for a protester that they wanted to arrest. That's not okay, and that was not said, and we were pretty angry about that.
Right.
Then they chased people down the only exit that they had left open in the square, throwing tear gas in this direction, no longer like that.
Yeah.
And
you said it looked like it was raining from the sky at one point.
Yeah, there were some people who said it was being thrown from the windows of buildings on the square, but it's not. I'm pretty sure it wasn't.
It was just a trajectory.
I think it was just being shot with those things they used to shoot tear gas in whatever direction. So it was just going like that. It was raining from the sky, effectively. And some people were actually hit by
canisters. Yeah.
I wasn't prepared, so I was like holding the flap of my coat in front of my face. And, it wasn't nice.
In an emergency, I have heard that the best option is to wet a handkerchief and put it around your mouth.
Yeah, or people who are more organized than me and saw this coming had lemon. If you bite lemon, it relieves the symptoms of you have after breathing in tear gas. And use different flavors. The first one was mild, and I would say, I don't know, like a mild curry. And the last one was Madras. It was pretty bad. Yeah, it was. But there were people who like were red and sort of, you know, tears.
Isn't it very similar to like pepper spray, but for the whole body?
The flavor is very similar. It just has this kind of. I breathed in a bit from my mouth and I started choking, and it's not pleasant.
Fun.
I managed to escape, and I had to I ran into when they chased us down the road. I ran into the courtyard of a building.
Yeah.
And a couple other people were doing that, and we saw behind us a guy with a motorized wheelchair who was also moving away from the...
Did you manage to...
He was making his way into the yard, so he managed to get to a safe place before... Because things started to speed up a little, and I decided to sort of go hide in a corner sideways and see what was going on, and then we got out, and they kept shooting tear gas, and we left and went out and came back the other way. We sort of looped around and went back, but in the end, they didn't manage to empty the square.
Yeah, I find it fascinating that the people who are that cops a lot of the time. It's true in the U.S. and it's true in Italy clearly as well. I think it's true most places. I'm not sure. Yeah. I could imagine that some places in Scandinavia, for example, it might not be. I find it fascinating that cops are escalative in their behavior. That seems counterintuitive to me to dealing with situations.
Yeah, they don't care about that. They just want to, it seems like just wanted to go after someone and, unload some of the rage on them.
Yeah, this is one of the reasons why I think that that a lot of those kinds of jobs shouldn't be done by people who choose them. They should be like jury duty.
I don't know. I don't know if I would like to be chosen for that, to be honest.
But if
Can you imagine if they come to you and they say, "Hey, Mo, do you want to do I'm gonna have to be riot police at this EDL demonstration?"
I would say, okay, and then let people go.
Let them out of the station and let them be beaten to the pulse.
Yeah, I'd be like, nice. This way.
This way, come on. The Antifa are waiting for you.
Yes. I think that's exactly the point. If the people were the ones who were enforcing the law, it would be enforced in much more, you know what I mean? It would be much less state ways.
Yeah, I mean, they were effectively facilitating. That's another thing that's important to say for those who are not familiar with the Italian situation. They were facilitating an activity that is anti-constitutional. Let me read you a little bit. So the Italian constitution establishes that there's a crime called apology of fascism, from a law that was passed in 1952, Scelba law, and it sanctions, and I'm quoting now, anyone who does propaganda for the constitution of an association, of a movement, or of a group that has the same characteristics and the same aims as the dissolved fascist party and attempts to reorganize it. And anyone who publicly, praises the members, principles, facts, or methods of fascism or its anti-democratic aims. This is what the law says.
And that's,
a law
that's
that
literally
is
those
being basically ignored. It has been for a long time because this stuff has been happening for a while. And instead of, the police was effectively facilitating an anti-constitutional activity on that day in Piazza Marsala in Genova.
I think there's been similar complaints in Germany, because I think Germany has a law like that as well, and they have been not doing as much as one would hope to take care of those groups.
Yeah. Well, I guess people are going to have to deal with it. And the thing is, there's always a problem of, squares being, protests like these being managed in a way that makes it feel unsafe for a lot of people. And that's a big debate. And a lot of people didn't even enter the square where the anti-fascist protest was happening.
Because and still got affected.
Sort of, but they were behind one of the police cordons that was blocking some of the exits from the square.
Yeah.
So that was seen as, you don't come into the square, you are facilitating this kind of police response. But from their perspective, it's like, we don't come into the square because we know what's going to happen and we don't want tear gas thrown at us. But there is, if the Constitution is basically shat on,
what do you do?
Yeah, exactly. We can't just sit there and think, oh, square, no square, get in. The more the merrier. And in fact, the fact that they ended up mistakenly beating a journalist is quite interesting, because it was actually talked about much more than other protests because of that.
Yeah.
The sad thing is that hasn't resulted in people saying, well, nobody, even if they were throwing satsumas or stones on the other side, should be arrested in that way.
But we've already established that throwing things is the equivalent of Nazism. Don't you remember all the news coverage?
Yeah.
No, I think it's fascinating how the rule of the slippery slope, right? If you start with satsumas, when is it going to be, I don't know, bricks? And then if it's bricks, when is it guillotines? And we all know that the French Revolution was wrong. Oh, wait. I'm not advocating for bloody revolution. I'm just putting that out there. But I think, we hold people to the left responsible for the sliding scale, and we don't hold the right to it, right?
Yeah.
I'm fine with being held to that standard. I hold myself to that standard. I myself don't engage in violent acts really at all. Property damage maybe, not people for sure.
Would you throw satsuma? Ish.
I'm more likely to throw satsumas at somebody's house.
Okay, fair enough. Rotten ones, because we don't want to waste food.
No, that's right. Although maybe I wouldn't even do that. Maybe I would just, because I compost. Can you compost satsumas?
Can we compost fascists, do you think? Do they decompose, or are they?
What, do you think they're too unholy?
I don't know. I don't really do compost. Maybe we can try.
You'd have to do it in that special pickling way that they do in Japan, because you can't compost meat specially. You have to specially compost meat anaerobically.
Maybe we can ferment them and make human fascist kimchi out of it and sell it to
other fascists.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably into cannibalism anyway.
Okay, we got wildly off topic. What I was going to say is, I'm totally fine with being held accountable for violence. Ignoring that conversation. Yeah. But the right isn't. The right gets mad at the left for being violent.
And especially the state isn't.
Yeah.
And this is something that was made very clear, because as a lot of people who are watching this may know, this is not the first time something like this happens in Genova. The DH of 2001 was an awful example of unchecked police behavior that remained largely unpunished, even though it was acknowledged that they were on the wrong side, of course. But tortured people, and they attacked people who hadn't done anything. They managed the whole situation in a revolting way, and it took years to have some sort of admission that things were not managed well, and then they weren't punishable anymore because too many years have passed according to the Italian law for people to be actually jailed for some of this stuff.
Well, I mean, you see this time and time again. You see this with the way that the police handled the thing that, that's why nobody buys the Sun here, and I mean, in
Hillsborough.
Yeah, Hillsborough disaster. I mean, there's the stuff with the World Wildlife Federation going on about torturing indigenous people at the moment. Right, time and time again, organizations, primarily state organizations, are guilty of gross negligence or of actual conspiracy to harm? I don't know.
Or let's just call it violence.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
And it's illegal, and it doesn't matter because they're the cops.
Yeah. Are we done?
I'm in a very good mood.
Okay.
Super cheery. That was great.
Shall we go catch some fascists and make kimchi with them? No. Pump up them.
Yeah.
Recycle them.
Yeah, it's better for the environment.
When are they picking up the rubbish here?
Wednesday.
It's too late. We're going to have to do it next week.
Yeah.
Remember, because I'm not here next week.
Okay.
Right. Now,
do you think it's safe to have them donate their organs, or do you think you'll get contaminated?
Maybe if you, I don't know, give them a little wash before. Apple cider vinegar. I don't know. We need to talk to medical professionals about this. I'm not qualified to give an opinion on that one.
On one last quick note, you are currently doing squats in your place. You're doing...
No, I'm not. I'm not really. I didn't really do anything. I just kind of joined this collective that manages one of them. And I'm sort of sitting in their assemblies and trying to contribute what I can, which is what they're looking for.
Yeah. I think that might be something that us English speakers might consider as having some more places like the Italian ones. Because that seems like a cool thing.
It is. The thing that has happened here in some cities is that there have been like empty spaces that have been given to groups that want to do something like that without it being illegal for what's known as peppercorn rent. So you get really, really, really low rent to use a space that's messed up and empty. You fix it up, but that process sort of sets the conditions for gentrification. So it's, think about, an example of this for people who know Liverpool in the last few years would be Mellow Mellow. That's what happened to Mellow Mellow. They then give you these places, you fix them up, you do something nice with them, you sort of change the feel of the neighborhood, and then they kick you out and they build flats and sell them for more money than they could have done before.
Yeah, I mean, in the case of Mellow Mellow, it turned into a hipster bar.
Yeah. It's pretty sad.
Yeah. On that cheery note, just, this is my friend, and that was her story about Italy at the moment.
Thanks for having me.
And now just like 5 seconds of us trying to figure out how to stop it.